Let's talk about getting nervous for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions. Some people have asked me before, do you get nervous before you go on competitions? No. Let's talk about that. But also yes. So here's why. The reason why it's no and yes is because there's always some sort of anxiety or excitement or increased adrenaline when you're about to go do something that you know is going to be a fight or something that you could win a lot of kudos in the community or money if you win the event. Anything that, or even a sword at Naga. Those things are really dang cool. And something about that little bit of competition just gets you going. It makes everybody feel a little bit nervous. But over time, as I've competed more, it's become less and less a nervous and more a common practice that you do again and again. And I think some people have this experience with just regular class. Now, for me, when I started jiu-jitsu, it wasn't super nerve-wracking to go in and try. Now, I was in a pretty privileged position, being a 17-year-old boy who has done a little bit of exercise before and knew what sports were like. I'd played soccer. Not that that was, anything crazy, but it beats a lot of these older gentlemen or ladies who are smaller and weaker. Maybe they have pre-existing injuries. Maybe they're extraordinarily out of shape. Maybe they're super not mobile. All these people can do well and succeed in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but their first class may be a little bit more nerve-wracking, or their 17th class, or their 200th class where they have a new person in there who is going to give them a really tough role. That can be a little bit nerve-wracking for some people. And if it's not nerve-wracking for you, well, I think that's pretty common too. That's why people like to go to competitions, is because it ups the stakes a little bit more and it makes you a little bit nervous. But I don't I think the best way to handle it is what John Danaher recommends, which is treat it like normal practice. Because if you can make grappling on the competition mats feel the same as grappling in the gym, where you're doing this every single day, it's just part of your job, it becomes way easier. And I've done, I wouldn't say a ton of competitions. I didn't do, like, wrestlers have a huge advantage in this because they compete every single weekend during the wrestling season, and it's just competition. You lose a competition, well, you got one next week, so it sort of becomes a lot more normal. In jiu-jitsu, you got to pay for the competitions, you got to go out there, you got to get your team ready, you got to get your game plan ready. So it takes a little bit longer, and it takes a little bit longer to get as many competitions under your belt just because of all the extra stuff that goes into it. But I've had a decent amount of competitions. I'd say not more than 20, but definitely not less than 10. I've sort of lost track. And each one has a little bit of something different for the most part. And it's been really awesome to see all of these different experiences, whether it's at a different skill level, gi, no gi, judo, jiu-jitsu, professional, amateur, stage, not stage, cameras, no camera, all these different things that have been different each time I've competed has really helped me get a lot of experience, while also being able to talk to people who've competed in those wrestling tournaments for years and years and years. Being able to talk to people who have been in the trenches before, and basically coming to the conclusion myself that if you're able to be less nervous than your opponent, then you are going to do better than them for the most part. Because if you go to a competition and you start worrying about, oh, this person's better than me, you're going to lose. You're maybe not going to lose, but you're certainly going to perform less than what you're capable of. But if you're able to go in there and not have any overwhelming nerves and anxiety, you just have that slight increased adrenaline that you normally do, and you make your goal to be as relaxed as possible, because I've never been too relaxed in a tournament. I've never been like, oh man, I'm about to fall asleep. I've always been trying to like relax and calm down, but still feeling a little bit hyped up. And when you do that and you go on the mat and you're trying to relax as much as possible, you don't have that big adrenaline dump that happens. Because a lot of the times in the mats, you're going, you're excited, you grip up with somebody, and you're ripping and pulling, and it's great, and it's crazy. All that heavy breathing, and then you look at the clock and it's been 1 minute and 20 seconds, and it's an 8-minute match, and your opponent is still calm. Yeah, that's not good. If you're the opponent that's still calm, that's like, all right, weathering the storm, we're going to apply some pressure, we're going to try to get our takedowns. If you do that, you're going to be in a much better spot than if you weren't nervous. And at this point, I don't feel nervous when I go in competitions. I do, but it's the physiological response of being nervous is the same as being excited. It's the label we place on it that means the difference. Like, if you are about to go on a roller coaster, you could have that feeling in your belly, but it's excitement because you know you're going to be safe. And you can sort of harness this knowledge by reframing the way you think about competitions into being a little bit more exciting. And the biggest tip that I've had that's allowed me to let go of nerves and anxiety is not caring about the outcome, because you really can't control it. Now, to say you can't control an outcome is a little ridiculous when you're the one who's on the mat and you can do better or worse. But if you have prepared as much as you can for you, so don't overtrain, train smart, train as much as you can, actually put real effort, which means actually eat good food, actually get good rest, actually recover, actually train, actually practice, and actually study. If you do all those things, you are the best you can be when you step on the competition mat. Then you can let go of the outcome, because whatever happens, happens, and then you can just show up and see. It's almost like you're watching yourself compete, because you can go on the mat and try your hardest, and if you win, awesome. If you lose, well, you have some things to learn from. And even if you do win, you can learn from some things as well. But truthfully, letting go of the outcome is the number one thing you can do to reduce nerves for competitions. On top of that, you just have to keep doing them. Do them again and again and again. And the more you do it, the more it will become like everyday class. This is what happens for the people who are nervous to go to regular class. Well, if you're nervous to go to regular jiu-jitsu class, you just keep doing it. Eventually, it'll be, this is what I do on Tuesdays. So it will become way, way less nerve-wracking than someone who's never done it before. Like, oh, someone's going to try to strangle me unconscious? And it sounds a little scary, but it's like, yeah, that's just Tuesday. That's Jim. He's a real nice guy. You should say hi. The last thing that you can do to reduce your nervousness for competitions is almost trick yourself into thinking that it's not a big deal. Because on one hand, it literally on paper isn't a big deal. But on the other hand, your body knows you're about to get into a fight, and of course that's always a big deal, because the potential ramifications of someone, choking you unconscious or breaking one of your limbs, it's always real. But on the other hand, it doesn't matter if you are able to trust that the systems we have in place of referees, of tapping, of respect, all of those things will save you, unless you're a dingbat and you want to get your arm broken so you don't tap. Just a side note, how many dingbats have I seen get their stuff broken in competitions because they think it actually matters? Is ridiculous. I've reffed for quite a few competitions before, and every single time I ref for a competition and I see leg locks happening, I'm like, someone's going to fight this too long. A, because people don't know how to do leg locks very well, and when someone does it correctly, they'll actually just break it. And B, because the adrenaline makes it so it doesn't hurt very much. And C, they're just super tough and they're not really smart, and they don't realize when it's being applied correctly, and it just get crunch, and it's because they don't tap, and that's not good. But if you don't allow that to happen, you tap early, you tap often, as the people say, you're not going to get injured, and it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, because they're still going to get your tournament fee. They're still going to give you a 5-cent medal if you win, or they're not going to give you anything if you lose. You're still going to have a great time with your teammates. You're going to be able to go out and eat after. You're going to be able to make a day out of it. You're going to be able to have some fun stories to tell. You're going to be able to watch your teammates. Hopefully somebody wins. I mean, it's more fun when somebody wins. But if you lose, you still have a great time. So if you reframe it to, it's really not a big deal at all, and at the end of the day, nobody cares if I win, if I lose. It's just a fun thing. I'm just here to test myself. I've already put in all the work. If you're able to have all those reassurances, when you go onto the competition mat, you're going to be way less nervous than if you made it into a huge deal and you didn't train as much as you could, and you think if you lose, it'll be terrible. If you win, it'll be fantastic. It's not. It's just every day on the mats. Don't be nervous. Peace.